Imagine a future where humanity's last hope for survival lies in a deadly gamble on a distant planet, a gamble that unearths a terrifying truth about evolution and betrayal. The story begins in the 21st century, as Earth faces an escalating crisis. Rapid population growth sparks widespread concern that resources and living space will one day become critically scarce. In response, scientists propose a bold solution: terraforming Mars into a habitable world. However, a monumental challenge stands in their way. Mars is an unforgivingly cold planet, with an average temperature of approximately -93.3 degrees Celsius, rendering it utterly inhospitable to human life. Undeterred, scientists persevere. After years of meticulous study, they uncover vast quantities of frozen carbon dioxide hidden deep beneath the Martian surface. They theorize that releasing this gas into the atmosphere could trap heat, gradually warming the planet and initiating a greenhouse effect. Yet, even this isn't enough. To accelerate the process, humanity devises another ingenious strategy: to darken Mars's surface so it can absorb more sunlight. More sunlight means more heat, significantly speeding up the planet's transformation into a livable environment. For this ambitious mission, resilient moss and microscopic life forms from Earth, capable of surviving Mars's harsh conditions, are dispatched. Then, time passes. Not years, not decades, but 5 whole centuries. By now, the Mars project has dramatically reshaped the planet. The Martian surface begins to resemble Earth, and humanity finally feels closer to inhabiting it. Simultaneously, Dr. Ko, a visionary scientist, begins assembling a specialized exploration team. With his assistant, Sakakibara, he seeks individuals uniquely suited for a perilous mission. Soon, his assistant identifies 2 perfect candidates. However, there's a significant catch: the ideal candidates, a couple named Nanao and Shokichi, are currently fugitives involved in a serious crime. The 2 desperately try to evade capture, but they soon find themselves surrounded. With the police moments away from opening fire, Ko dramatically arrives at the scene. Without hesitation, he steps from his vehicle and presents the couple with a shocking offer. He promises them an immense reward if they agree to join a mission to Mars. Their task seems deceptively simple: eradicate every cockroach on the planet, paving the way for safe human colonization. After all, thanks to the project initiated 500 years prior, Mars now bears a striking resemblance to Earth. But there's a formidable catch. Before anyone can journey to Mars, they must undergo a dangerous surgery, an operation with a mere 30% survival rate. In essence, most candidates don't even make it out alive. Still, Ko attempts to reassure them, claiming they have a good chance of surviving. He then escalates the situation, informing Nanao and Shokichi that refusing the mission will result in a death sentence for their crimes. However, if they accept the mission, every transgression will be pardoned, and they'll receive an immense fortune. To formalize the agreement, Ko places a contract before them and urges them to sign. Shokichi, deeply suspicious of the enigmatic scientist, feels a profound sense of unease and initially rejects the proposition. Nanao, seeing no other viable option, recognizes that refusal means certain death for both of them. To save their lives, she reluctantly accepts the mission and signs the contract. Witnessing this, Shokichi cannot bear to let the woman he loves go alone. He ultimately changes his mind and signs the contract as well. Just like that, their lives are now in the hands of a strange scientist they barely know. A few weeks later, the couple prepares for the mission. They are joined by several other crew members who somehow survived the perilous surgery. This crew, however, is an unusual assembly. Almost every member is either a convicted criminal or an individual with a troubled past on Earth. Perhaps this shared desperation is precisely why they volunteered for such a perilous undertaking, a final chance at redemption and a new beginning. The entire team has a mere 39 days to exterminate every cockroach on Mars and somehow return to Earth alive. Soon, they finally land on the planet. Their first action is to deploy a special capsule filled with pesticide near the spacecraft, aiming to neutralize any potential threats lurking in the immediate vicinity before commencing the mission. Afterward, the team splits into pairs to begin their initial search. Simultaneously, the mission's captain, Dojima, dispatches a drone to locate the wreckage of an old spaceship called Bugs 1. This vessel, dispatched to Mars a decade prior, holds a disturbing secret: its crew never returned. Meanwhile, outside the ship, Maria and Jim sense that something is amiss. Despite having sprayed pesticide in the area just 3 hours earlier, they find no trace of dead cockroaches, an inexplicable anomaly. As they continue to search, Jim suddenly freezes. In the distance, he sees 3 colossal creatures, seemingly engaged in communication. Jim quickly pulls Maria behind a rock, attempting to remain unseen. At the same time, Shokichi and Nanao are busy checking radiation levels on the planet. Suddenly, a strange-looking creature appears directly in front of them. Nanao gazes at it in shock, believing it might be a genuine Martian. Thinking it could be friendly, she suggests trying to communicate with it. But before they can even move closer, the creature suddenly charges towards them at unbelievable speed. In a terrifying flash, it seizes Nanao, twisting her neck with brutal force. The speed of the attack leaves Shokichi utterly paralyzed, unable to comprehend the horror unfolding before him. Moments later, Maria and Jim arrive, revealing an even grimmer truth: these monsters have already taken another team member named Merike. Everyone now grasps one terrifying truth: they cannot fight these things, at least not in their current state. Without wasting another second, they all rush back to the spacecraft. Shokichi carries Nanao's body with him, still refusing to accept what has happened. He vows to somehow take her back to Earth. But once they get inside and confront Captain Dojima, the truth finally emerges. These monstrous beings are, in fact, the very cockroaches they were sent to exterminate. Yes, cockroaches. Dojima explains that 500 years ago, humans sent cockroaches to Mars as part of the plan to change the planet. Over time, something impossible occurred: the insects had adapted with astounding resilience, surviving intense radiation and temperatures plummeting to approximately -115.6 degrees Celsius. They evolved at an unbelievable pace, achieving in mere decades what would typically take millions of years. Now, these creatures are stronger, faster, and far more intelligent than normal insects. The government has even bestowed upon them a chilling name: Terraformars. At this moment, Shokichi realizes something terrifying: Ko was fully aware of these monsters, yet he knowingly sent them to Mars. Suddenly, Ko appears before them as a hologram, and what he says next shocks everyone even more. During their high-risk surgeries, scientists secretly integrated insect genes into their DNA. This means every crew member now possesses special powers, abilities formidable enough to combat the Terraformars. Ko explains that all they have to do is inject a special serum into their bodies. Once activated, their bodies mutate for a few minutes, granting them abilities based on a specific insect. Each person has different powers, depending on which insect's DNA was used during their surgery. However, there's a perilous side effect: excessive use of the serum will overwhelm their bodies, ultimately leading to death. Just then, Mina, the vice captain, warns everyone: the cockroaches are approaching the ship. Seeing the imminent danger, a former terrorist named Lee volunteers to go outside first. His plan is simple: eliminate every creature near the spacecraft and then destroy their nest. Without fear, Lee injects the serum into his neck, and within seconds, his body transforms. He becomes a powerful insect-human fighter. His powers are derived from the bombardier beetle, an insect renowned for its ability to discharge a scalding chemical spray at extreme temperatures. In his transformed state, this power manifests almost like a flamethrower. Outside the ship, Lee swiftly attacks one of the giant cockroaches. After a short fight, he unleashes his burning attack, completely incinerating the creature. For a second, everyone believes he has won, but then something impossible happens: the cockroach inexplicably regenerates. Before Lee can even react, the monster attacks. With just one brutal hit, it tears through his stomach, leaving a massive hole in his body. The crew watches in complete horror. Fear spreads everywhere, and then things get even worse. The giant cockroach suddenly climbs onto the spacecraft and slams its head against the glass. At first, nobody seems too worried. After all, the ship was specially built to withstand invasions. The glass is strong, reinforced, and almost impossible to break, or at least, that's what everyone believes. But within seconds, the impossible happens: the monster smashes straight through the reinforced glass. The colossal creature is now inside the ship. Everyone freezes in fear as the monster slowly walks towards them. Seeing the danger, Shokichi prepares to inject the serum and fight, but Captain Dojima quickly stops him. He warns Shokichi not to use his powers yet, explaining that his insect type is the most dangerous and aggressive of them all. Instead, Dojima decides to handle the fight himself. He injects the serum into his body, and suddenly his body mutates. He transforms into a powerful insect-human creature based on the green-headed ant, an insect infamous for possessing one of the most agonizing bites in the world, a bite so severe it's likened to a gunshot. Without wasting time, Dojima attacks. Within moments, he completely destroys the invading cockroach. For a second, everyone feels relieved, but that relief doesn't last long. Outside, thousands of colossal cockroaches surge towards them, rendering the situation instantly hopeless. Mina quickly tries to start the ship and escape, but the system refuses to respond. There is no way out. Realizing the grave danger, Dojima makes a swift decision. He instructs the team to head towards the old spacecraft, Bugs 1. Since Bugs 1 operates on an identical system, they might be able to repair Bugs 2 using salvageable parts from the older vessel, securing their escape from Mars. Meanwhile, Dojima decides to stay behind and distract the monsters. One by one, some crew members volunteer to stay and help the captain fight. Soon, a full-scale battle begins. While most of the team rushes towards Bugs 1, Dojima throws himself into a deadly fight against countless Terraformars. At one point, one of the monsters suddenly rushes towards Ichiro. Terrified, the man quickly injects the serum into his neck for the first time. His body instantly changes into a terrifying mutant form. His abilities stem from the scorpion beetle, an insect capable of discharging a potent gas as a defensive mechanism. Harnessing this power, Ichiro generates enough propulsion to accelerate the vehicle at high speed. Thanks to him, the team quickly gets closer to their destination. Back at Bugs 2, Captain Dojima gives one final order. He tells the remaining crew members to close every gate and remove all oxygen from the ship. His idea is simple: no oxygen means the cockroaches inside should die from suffocation. Meanwhile, during the arduous journey, Jim finally reveals the heartbreaking truth behind Nanao's decision to join the mission. On the night of their recruitment, Nanao's abusive stepfather attacked her once more. This time, Shokichi intervened, protecting her. As the man lunged with a knife, Shokichi disarmed him. In the escalating chaos, Nanao seized the fallen knife, stabbing her stepfather in the back, her only means of stopping him. Shokichi, unwilling to see the woman he loved imprisoned, immediately took the knife, inflicting another wound, and shouldered the blame for the entire crime. Back in the present, just as the team finally approaches Bugs 1, disaster strikes again. Out of nowhere, a colossal wave of giant cockroaches surges towards them, a living tsunami of dread. Everyone braces for impact. Somehow, the vehicle manages to break through the wave, but at a terrible cost. Tezuka, exposed outside the vehicle, is gravely injured. Before anyone can react, another cockroach attacks. Maria and Sari bravely step forward to shield him. Maria, whose powers derive from the rainbow beetle, gains the ability to camouflage and blend seamlessly into her environment. Sari, meanwhile, possesses the natural armor of her insect, one of the strongest among all species. Together, the two women form a resolute shield before Tezuka, protecting him from the assault. But things go horribly wrong. Upon clearing the barrier, the vehicle violently flips, rendering everyone inside unconscious. The autopilot activates, continuing its trajectory, abandoning Maria, Sari, and Tezuka to face their fate alone. In moments, the mutant cockroaches surround them, and what happens next is absolutely brutal. One monster brutally attacks Maria, killing her instantly. Another cockroach mercilessly crushes Sari. Tezuka, already gravely wounded from his valiant efforts, is barely clinging to life. The monsters finish him off. Meanwhile, back at the ship, the oxygen level continues to plummet. Yet, inexplicably, the cockroaches inside are still alive. Even though he is exhausted and close to death, Captain Dojima keeps fighting with everything he has left. He refuses to give up. At the same time, the remaining survivors finally reach Bugs 1. Yashikane and Torimaru stay outside to guard the area while the others go inside to investigate the old ship. As Mina checks the system, she discovers a shocking revelation. 10 years prior, shortly after landing on Mars, Bugs 1 secretly transmitted something back to Earth. Before they can fully process the implications, gunshots suddenly echo from outside. Everyone rushes out in panic, and what they see is horrifying. Yashikane and Torimaru lie dead on the ground. Now, Shokichi finally realizes there is no choice left. He has to use his powers. He quickly injects the serum into his body, and instantly his body transforms. His DNA has been fused with that of the Asian giant hornet, one of the world's most lethal insects. Unlike bees, which sting only once, this hornet can deliver repeated, devastating attacks until its foe is vanquished. At the same time, Jim also transforms. His powers derive from the desert grasshopper, an insect renowned for its incredibly powerful jumping legs. On a human scale, his leaps are formidable enough to clear obstacles approximately 30 meters high. Then there is Mina. Her insect powers originate from the giant praying mantis, a creature known for its razor-sharp, claw-like forelegs, capable of ensnaring prey far larger than itself. Now fully transformed, the three survivors fight side by side. Together, they brutally wipe out the attacking Terraformars. After winning the battle, they quickly remove the essential system parts from Bugs 1 and rush back towards Bugs 2. But at the same time, something very strange is happening back on the ship. Ko secretly communicates with one of the monsters, inquiring about the mission's progress. Shockingly, the creature calmly replies that everything is proceeding precisely as planned. Soon after, the monster restores oxygen inside the ship and points a gun at Captain Dojima. Even though Dojima is badly injured, he suddenly notices something shocking. The creature is not a terraformer at all. It is Marike, alive and transformed. Her powers are derived from the jewel wasp, an insect infamous for its ability to control cockroaches with a specialized sting. This shocking revelation means Marike faked her death from the very beginning, having secretly worked for Ko all along. And now, the truth finally comes out. Ko never sent the team to Mars just to kill cockroaches. His true objective was far more sinister: to steal a terraformer egg and transport it back to Earth for clandestine research. And disturbingly, Ichiro was also privy to this secret agenda. After shooting Captain Dojima, Marike suddenly throws water on him, and something impossible happens. The captain wakes up as if nothing occurred. It turns out his powers are based on a specialized mosquito, an insect capable of surviving extreme heat, freezing cold, arid conditions, and even a lack of oxygen. Essentially, short of complete bodily destruction, he is almost impossible to kill. Now, Marike and Ichiro prepare to leave Mars and head back to Earth alone, abandoning everyone else. But without their knowledge, something strange is happening in another room. Nanao, the woman presumed dead, suddenly begins to undergo a bizarre transformation. A strange, web-like material slowly envelopes her body. At the same time, back at Bugs 1, the surviving trio is suddenly contacted by a drone controlled by Ko. The scientist congratulates them for surviving and eliminating so many Terraformars. For him, the entire mission was merely a colossal experiment. He gleefully states that the team has provided invaluable combat data for his research. Then Ko reveals another shocking truth: Marike and Ichiro are already on Bugs 2 and heading back to Earth. The only reason the ship wasn't working before was because Ichiro secretly sabotaged the system. Ko then explains what really happened 10 years ago. The initial Mars mission, Bugs 1, ended in catastrophic failure. Every crew member perished, but before their demise, they managed to launch an escape capsule back to Earth. Inside lay the severed head of a terraformer. Scientists secretly studied it for years, and from that research, they unlocked the secret to fusing human and insect DNA. Since then, governments have clandestinely been creating insect-human soldiers to combat the Terraformars. But Ko wants something even bigger. He believes that if he can study a terraformer egg, he will finally understand how these monsters evolved so quickly. Meanwhile, on Bugs 2, Ichiro quietly remembers why he accepted this dangerous mission in the first place. His life on Earth had been exceptionally difficult, his family was impoverished, his mother gravely ill, and he bore the responsibility for several younger siblings. Possessing keen intelligence, he embarked on a university research project with a clear objective: to create something groundbreaking, sell his discovery to a laboratory, and finally earn enough money to lift his family out of destitution. This was their sole hope. Tragically, everything went awry. After all his tireless work, his professor stole the research and claimed all the credit. In an instant, Ichiro lost everything. His dream of saving his family shattered, and from that moment, money became his sole driving force. Meanwhile, Marike had completely different plans. She never cared about saving humanity. In fact, her ambition was the exact opposite: to unleash the Terraformars across Earth, then use her control over them to dominate the world. Power was her singular desire. But suddenly, something strange happens. The giant terraformer egg finally begins to hatch. Marike quickly rushes over, excited to see the new creature, but to her surprise, not one, but two terraformars emerge, both bearing peculiar marks on their foreheads. Without wasting time, Marike injects serum into their necks and uses her special stinger to control them. But there's a huge problem: these are second-generation terraformars, offspring of already evolved cockroaches, and they are, inexplicably, immune to her poison. Instead of obeying, they suddenly attack her. In moments, Marike is brutally killed by the very creatures she sought to command. Soon after, the ship finally starts moving. But the newborn terraformars begin screaming loudly, almost as if calling for help. And unfortunately, their family hears them. In moments, massive swarms of flying cockroaches surge towards the spacecraft. They clamber onto the ship from every angle, and before anyone can intervene, the entire aircraft is violently flipped. Chaos breaks out everywhere. During the attack, Ichiro is thrown right next to one of the monsters. It looks like he is about to die. But just before the creature can hit him, Ichiro suddenly transforms. His body activates a special survival mode, rendering him almost impossible to kill. At the same time, Shokichi and the others arrive at the scene. But instantly, they find themselves surrounded by giant cockroaches, including the terrifying newborn mutant Terraformars. The fight starts immediately. At first, the humans actually do pretty well. Shokichi uses his deadly hornet stingers to knock out the monsters. Meanwhile, Jim uses his powerful grasshopper legs to tear enemies apart. For a fleeting moment, it seems the humans finally have the upper hand. But then the mutant newborn cockroaches enter the battle, and everything changes. These creatures move differently, they are faster, smarter, and somehow it feels like they are copying the fighting styles of the humans. Mina attempts a surprise attack from behind, but the creature reacts instantaneously. In a horrifying moment, it rips off her claw arm and uses it to sever her own neck. Witnessing his friend's brutal death, Jim completely loses control. Fueled by rage, he injects another dose of serum into his body. He enters the second stage of his transformation, his desert grasshopper powers intensify dramatically. He moves faster, strikes harder, and becomes far more dangerous. But still, even that is not enough to stop the mutant cockroaches. Seeing Jim struggle, Shokichi also injects himself again to help him. Together, the two destroy dozens of Terraformars, but Jim keeps pushing himself too far. Again and again, he injects more serum into his body, even though too much serum can kill him. Soon, wings erupt from his body, enabling him to take the fight to the air. Soaring through the battlefield, Jim decimates Terraformars one after another, but his body rapidly deteriorates. The cumulative side effects become overwhelming, and a powerful attack suddenly knocks him unconscious. Meanwhile, Shokichi keeps fighting alone, but somehow Jim forces himself back up. Barely standing, he injects even more serum into himself. Now his body looks twisted and barely human. He is weak, tired, and close to death. Before collapsing, Jim manages to kill one of the powerful mutant cockroaches, but now he cannot fight anymore. Shokichi is forced to protect him from the remaining enemies. At this point, Jim finally tells the truth. He confesses to intentionally overdosing on the serum, revealing that everyone he loved back on Earth was already gone. He had nothing left to live for. Hearing this makes Shokichi furious. Filled with anger, he attacks the last mutant cockroach with everything he has. The battle becomes brutal, but just when it seems like all hope is lost, something strange appears in the sky. A glowing white, angel-like insect slowly begins flying above the battlefield. As it moves, soft, snow-like dust starts spreading everywhere. Suddenly, every creature stops moving. Nobody understands what is happening. Then Shokichi suddenly realizes something shocking: this insect belongs to Nanao. Her powers are derived from a silkworm. Jim quickly figures out what is going on. The dust emanating from the moth's wings is highly flammable. This can only mean one thing: Nanao intends to sacrifice herself, igniting a cataclysmic explosion to obliterate the Terraformars. The moment Shokichi understands this, he immediately panics. He refuses to lose her again. Without wasting a second, he flies toward her, hoping to stop her. But before he can reach her, one of the mutant cockroaches grabs a gun and fires into the sky. In the very next second, a massive explosion covers the entire area. Fire spreads everywhere, everything gets swallowed by flames. Shokichi is about to get caught in the blast, too. But in the final, desperate moment, Jim, summoning the last vestiges of his strength, propels his broken body towards Shokichi, saving him from the blast. As Shokichi looks down from above, he watches the woman he loves disappear inside the fire. Nanao sacrifices herself to save everyone. Back on the ground, Jim finally accepts that his body cannot keep going anymore. He already used too much serum. There is no way to save him now. Knowing his end is near, Shokichi says goodbye to him. Before succumbing, Jim makes a final, poignant request: Shokichi must survive, return home safely, for Nanao sacrificed her life to protect him. At the same time, something unexpected happens. The explosion causes a glass of water to fall onto Ichiro's face, jolting him awake. He's not alone, a terraformer that survived the blast stands nearby. At first, fear takes over him, but then he remembers his family, and the initial reason he came to Mars. Gathering all his courage, Ichiro fights back and finally kills the monster. Outside the ship, Shokichi notices that some cockroaches somehow survived. One of them slowly walks toward him. But surprisingly, without even transforming, Shokichi knocks the creature down easily. He has the perfect opportunity to finish it, but instead, he chooses to let it live. Perhaps, after losing everyone, he is simply weary of killing. Soon after, Shokichi enters the ship and comes face to face with Ichiro. At first, Shokichi wants revenge. After all, Ichiro betrayed everyone from the beginning. But suddenly, a monster appears and tries to attack Shokichi. Before disaster strikes, Ichiro swiftly shoots the creature, saving Shokichi. That moment irrevocably changes everything. The two finally decide to stop fighting each other. Instead, they agree to use the escape pod and return to Earth together. But before leaving Mars, Ichiro does something important. He releases all recordings from the Bugs 2 mission to the entire world. The truth is finally exposed: the Japanese government's clandestine Mars experiment can no longer remain hidden. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Ko finally accepts defeat. He informs Sakakibara of his plan to sell the mission data to an international corporation and vanish forever. But there's a twist he never anticipated. Sakakibara was a clandestine government agent all along, assigned to monitor him from the outset. Pointing a gun at Ko, she explains that with the mission now public, the government will pin all blame on him. Their official narrative will state that Ko alone was responsible for the Mars mission, and after his failure, he supposedly took his own life. However, like any brilliant scientist, Ko always has a contingency. A protective barrier suddenly activates around him. Then, seeking vengeance, he tears a small device from his jacket, deploying a robotic spider. The machine swiftly attacks Sakakibara, releasing a poisonous gas laced with deadly wasp venom. She dies instantly. Meanwhile, inside the escape capsule, Shokichi and Ichiro finally begin their trip back to Earth. For the first time in a long while, everything feels calm. The two quietly talk about their future. Ichiro says he wants to use his knowledge to become successful and build a better life. Shokichi, however, has only one desire: to create graves for Nanao and all the friends they lost on Mars. After that, he plans to return to Mars, for deep down, he knows this fight is far from over.